Many people in the tabletop role-playing game hobby make this entire process harder than it has to be. As a game master, I'm looking to set a certain tone and feel. I won't have to say it out loud exactly. It will be clear. I expect players to take whatever I'm offering serious and to try to play to it, not against it. Now, if I run a good game where they enjoy it, the way they reward me is a return the next week, the next day, the next month. They keep coming back. And I've earned it by offering them a good experience. I don't want selfish players that show up to the table that want to make the game revolve around them, make it all about them, and they try to come at the game with a different tone and feel than I'm actually offering. I tell players like that, if you wish to set the tone and feel to the game, you don't do it from the player's chair, you do it from the game master's chair. And you do the work to earn that. That's why that chair is there. But it takes work. You put the work in, and then you can look at players and have an expectation. This is what we call part of the social contract. Us game masters, or whatever title you give us, it is the social contract we have with our players. Right? It's a respect thing. I've done the work. I want the respect. And if you give it to me and I give you in return a good time that you enjoy, we're happy, right? I'm working for you, so I demand a little respect based on the effort I'm putting in. I don't want to go around to other people telling them what to do at their table or that people should run the game like I do. No, you do as you please. But at my table, then we are talking my way. That's it. Players that do not play to the tone and feel create bitterness most of the time with the other people that they game with. They create bitterness with the game master. And when you take away what the game master wants, you can take away their passion. You can drive people away from that seat because they're doing what they enjoy. So if you bring something else, the whole point is if they wanted to do that, if they enjoyed that, they'd already be doing it, and you wouldn't have to come at the game differently than the expectations that are obviously in front of you to see and hear. This is such common sense that you realize the people showing up to the table and not respecting the feel and the tone and taking the game serious from the aspect of what's expected. Those people are ignorant. They're ignorant and they're selfish. These games are a team sport. I'm not a great game master as an individual. I'm a great game master if I have a great group of players and we're playing well together, right? And things are going well. If I'm performing well for them, and well, that's under circumstances that they're performing well for me, well, in that moment, I'm a great game master and they are great players and we have a great game. That's how that works. There's no ego here. The team has to work together to make this fun. See, it's like looking at player versus player or character versus character. We're not here to clash and have a bad time. We're here to play a game where it's challenging, but we are here to get along with each other. There's nothing wrong with a conflict in the game. There's nothing wrong with a lot of things, right? As long as the approach is under the circumstance that you're not using these actions to cause real life conflict between you and the other people at the table. And I say the player is ignorant and selfish because the common sense of what I'm pointing out to you is obvious to them, you, and everyone else. I'm not saying anything people don't already get. So if you know the player has no excuse for this adjust behavior, trying to adjust the tone at a table, if you understand that they get that, hey, that's not what is expected, well then you know they're purposely being ignorant. I've honestly never met a player who has done something like this who hasn't had at least the slightest bit of intelligence enough to understand, just enough common sense to understand what it is they're doing. So I always realize they're doing it understanding how ignorant it is. There is no excuse. They make the simple process of getting together and having a good time hard and in some cases impossible. And they put they put a wall of frustration between them and the other people they're gaming with. Then I have to criticize some game masters out there, or whatever title you have for the person running the game. I got to criticize you because you make it harder for people like me who are willing to get out there and run the game for strangers. The majority of people in the hobby that don't have enough friends to game with, that is the majority. It's always been the majority. You make it harder for people like me because I run into many people where a game master has allowed that player to come in and mess with the tone of the game and not remove them. There's nothing heartless about removing people from your game that don't respect what you're doing, right? And as a game master, you are the authority. You're also responsible for the experience at the table. If that player stays without you removing them, the player is not responsible for the bad experience created from that action. Game Master, part of the authority you have, part of your position, right, is to deal with that so you clean up the experience for the other players giving you their best at the table. If not, you're insulting the other people participating in the game. Either you have a talk with a player and they adjust right away, or you remove them if they refuse to adjust. In some cases, the conversation will lead to the removal because a player might not accept what you're saying. You need to explain to players, as I would. When you set a tone in the field, there is no debate. I don't need your opinion, player, about what I'm doing. If you wish to set the tone and the feel to the game player, you put the work in, which is what a game master does, and you go earn it. You go run a game where you get to call the shots. But at my table, I call the shots. But I earn it. It's not ego. I earn it by giving you a game that you are going to enjoy. And if you don't, you leave my game and you don't come back. No one is forcing you in that seat. It's all based on common sense. This does not have to be difficult, but we have people out there that will make it difficult. And then we have game masters out there that allow this type of nonsense to keep happening, to occur, and they will inspire some people in this hobby to think they can do that, and that maybe they're even in the right to do that to a table, adjust the tone. They want to walk in and have influence, but what it really is, it's selfishness and ignorance. And it tells you that that person isn't part of the team. They want everything to be about them. Here's a red flag you can look for when you're looking for selfish players who you don't want to harm your game. If you notice a player seems to speak as if everything revolves around them, what the other players are doing has to do with that player. What you're doing must be based on their actions. When a player talks as if they are the center of everything, my advice is to confront them, say that the way they're talking and the way they see this is selfish and wrong, and if they cannot adjust that attitude, remove them from your table. We shouldn't have to deal with, the social problems that many people bring to the table. It is on us human beings to handle ourselves and make sure we are ready for what we are doing. Socializing with other people, and people like myself, I am not your mother or father. I'm not an authority figure in your life that way. It is your responsibility before you get to the table to make sure you are ready to socialize and ready to respect what we do here. We may disagree about how the gaming should go, how we like the game to go. Some cases I could even imagine that, we could have opinions, like I would, where I could see what people are doing, go, I think you'd have a better time if you did it this way, but people will feel like you're telling them what to do at their table. So I would never do that. Regardless to my thoughts, I put the ego away. I don't let my head explode to think I'm better than other people. And I say to myself, As long as people are enjoying what they're doing, they are doing it right. I mean, you can't get away from that. If they are enjoying the socializing and the group is happy and there's no skeletons in the closet where people are hiding, some misery or anger and they're all having a good time, what am I going to do? Say to them that they are in the wrong when I see many other people out there that might game more like me having a difficult time because they take in bad players and whatnot. It's like, hey, I could criticize this group having fun even because they're doing something I think they can improve on and have a better time. I could look at it like that and then look it over at another table that's more like me and go and see them not having a great time and go, ooh, like what do I do there, right? Man, I could try to sit there and think I should criticize this table over here, but what are they doing wrong? They're not really doing anything wrong. We might disagree, that's it, right? But the harsh disagreement doesn't need to be harsh, right? The only thing I expect is what you do when you get to my table. I work my ass off to create a fun, good game for players, and I expect them to respect the effort I put in. And on my end, I respect the effort they put in, but I won't respect ignorance and disrespect coming from a player. It also tells me that player simply doesn't understand how things work here because they don't work the way they think. It's not about selfishness. It's about team play, getting along and socializing. So we cater to these things so we can have a good time. We have a social contract between Game Master and players. So we can have agreements that satisfy everyone without conflict, being created. When you show up being selfish, that's automatic conflict. You might think, well, everyone will adjust to me. All you'll do is create bitterness with the other people you're gaming with. And their experience will be lessened to adjust to you, to make it fun for just you. If you want to play a game by yourself, there's solo, you could do that, or you can go play a video game. But that type of attitude does not belong in the tabletop role-playing game hobby. It is so simple to do what we do, get this right, and have a good time, that when you see people out there making such a simple task extremely hard because of selfishness, it can pain you, it can stress you out. What can stress you out more is seeing people take up the role of game master and not handling this properly at their table when they are given the authority to do so. Game master, you're not given the authority so you can stick a stick up your ass and ignore what is happening. You are truly responsible for the experience because you have the authority. The players don't. They can't be responsible. They have to look at you to see what your decisions are. Right? So when I say you are responsible, I'm not joking. The players simply don't have the authority to take your position. It's a shame because I've seen this type of nonsense for all the decades I've been around the hobby. And it's not even so much the selfish people that really are the cause of a lot of the problems. It's weak people. I'm criticizing people here. Sorry, I'm just being real. It's weak people taking up the role of the person who runs the game. It's out of the box. It's common sense that you are responsible for what happens. No one needs to tell you this. This is not a new lesson. People that don't even know the games that well will understand that instinctively. There simply is no excuse. If you don't use your authority to create a better situation, in my opinion, any players who see you being weak should walk away from your table. Period. It doesn't matter if you offer a game that's good sometimes. Like, what about a campaign? Another player comes in and you can break that up. Why should any player at your table trust you to stay in that game? They shouldn't, and they should go to someone who is ready to make sure the experience is as best as it can be. And if a player comes in not acting right, they either adjust the player through a conversation or they remove the player, and they have to have the nerve to do this. I tell game masters, if you don't have the nerve for conflict, I don't think you should take the role. Now, there's all kinds of ways to do conflict where it's not uncomfortable. Game Master, here's the best way to confront things. Casually and forward, quickly. Don't allow awkwardness to grow between you and a situation or you and a person. When somebody starts acting that way, you go, hold on a second. That is unacceptable, dude. The game is not about you. I set the tone and feel. I want you to adjust to it if you want to stay at my table. You say it instantly. If they start talking like, man, you're doing this because of me, you're doing this because of me, and they're talking to other players, you speak up instantly, right away, and go, dude, no, the game is not all about you. Stop seeing it that way. And if you keep pushing that type of view, I'm going to ask you to leave. That's it. It's over. It's quick confrontation. People like that, it's like snapping their head around, right? The awkwardness is gone. You say it right away. Now you can vary in language, harshness, or whatever, but either way, it is your job to confront these issues. And when you don't, really, a lot of the problems come from game masters more than even the selfish people. Because what you're willing to put up with, people like me have to experience the issues you create later. So, of course, I'm going to say something to you because I run into your problems later because you did not snip that in the butt. So I look at game masters. If you cannot handle the authority that you're given to manage the game, manage the experience, and make sure it's as best as it can be. If you're not willing to take that authority and use it properly, maybe you should take the chair where the players sit and be a player and allow people that are willing to do the right thing to take the role of the game master. I think just, let's be honest, there are some people I feel are good for the role, and it doesn't have to do with who's better or who's worse or anything like that. People that have the nerve to speak up and use the authority right should have the seat. And if you do not have the nerve to do that, in my opinion, you shouldn't even try to take that role, because it's not just running the game that is your job. It is that authority of managing the game with it that is your job. And if you don't have the nerve for it, in my opinion, that makes you a bad game master. I know, but you might run an interesting game with many interesting things. Being a good game master isn't just, some of that stuff. It's an all-around thing where you have the authority to manage problems out of the game so they don't happen. It's nice that you might be able to run a good game when there's no issues. But it really only matters when you're challenged. That's not being challenged. So that's easy. Not hard to do. Players can be really easy to please. But can you maintain running a good game when a selfish player shows up at your table causing issues? Well, if you can't maintain your game as good, then maybe you shouldn't have that chair. You shouldn't need to say this in the hobby in 2026. But in reality, we have a lot of antisocial people in the hobby. As much as you shouldn't have to say this, I think it needs to be said anyway because the problem still exists. It hasn't gone away. It's still happening at tables. Actually, frequently, sadly, at tables. And it was no less frequent back in the 80s, right? Same thing. Things don't change. It's always going to be on the authority figure to manage that. And when we have more people in that role managing it, overall, the frequency of issues goes away. In a way, I look at other game masters in the hobby, no matter what game you're running, and go, we are on the same team. If you mess this up, I got to deal with your trash. So when I get it right, I've always had this. I get it right. So when players leave my game after having an experience, every game master I've met that has recruited one of my players to their game say, that's a good player. Because I don't fill the hobby up with trash. I don't fill the hobby up with a bad thing. And if players come into my game, I have a talk with them and they adjust. I've had many game masters say, that guy used to be a problem for a lot of people. Ever since he played your game, he's playing my game really well. Because I don't cause the overall hobby harm through not doing what's right. So I don't care what you do at your table, but one thing I would ask you, because it affects me, is that you make sure to use your authority to manage your game, no matter how you run it, no matter what tone or feel, that's your business. But at least take problem players and either remove them or have a talk with them. And if you don't have the nerve for that, my opinion, you shouldn't have that seat. Right? Because you bring trash, not just to your own situation, but because of your actions or lack thereof, we all have to suffer from people like you in the hobby, other game masters. So in a strange way, we might be strangers, but we are all working together. Because if I get this right, it makes it easier for you and other people. If you get it right, same goes for me. But when you get it wrong, other people will experience the mess you have left behind. There, that's my take. This hobby is not hard to get right and enjoy what we're doing socially. Most of the people in this hobby, you're not running into problems created by others. You're running into problems that you yourself created. So it's not the companies that create a lot of conflict. It's us. And it's just conflict that is unnecessary and easy to deal with. It's all common sense. You don't need to be a genius to get this right and enjoy what you're doing. It's as simple as that. So, remember, tone is set by the game master. Players are to respect that. That's the social contract. And if they have a good time, given the effort of the game master, they show back up. And there's no reason to go against the tone and feel the game master is offering. If you're enjoying yourself, well then that becomes something you would mess up for yourself. Because you've given the game master a chance. If you don't, we don't need to hate each other. We're all just gaming together. If you don't enjoy it, walk away. That's all you got to do. You don't have to be hateful or have an attitude where you think the world revolves around you as an individual. This is about a group gaming together. It's a team sport. And when you forget that, well, this isn't for you. That's what I would say. Or there is one section of the hobby that might be more suited for you if you can't get rid of the attitude, but you want to do some of this. Solo. Now there's a lot of good people in the solo world, so I'm not saying anything bad about them. But at least that way, you're not causing the rest of the hobby a bunch of bullshit conflict we don't need. There you go. And game masters out there that don't handle this correctly, maybe you should return to the seat of the player, and that's where you belong. I'm just being real. Okay. I love y'all. For now, take care.